What's up, everyone? This is Duke Dodson from Graybos, and you're listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show, part of the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network. And remember, there is no off-season.
This is Mark Aaron from WSB Radio in Atlanta, and you're listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show, part of the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network, the #1 place for advice on how to make money flipping sports cards. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, there is no off-season.
What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com. This is the Sports Card Strategy Show brought to you by Graybo's Sports Cards. Graybo's Sports Cards is a local card shop located in Richmond, Virginia, and is owned by Gray Burnett, Ryan Fitz, and Duke Dodson, who you know as Denny One Time. Graybo's sports the best selection of singles in the Mid-Atlantic and a wide variety of wax. Graybo's is happy to announce that they are now the only direct buyer of Topps Bowman in Central Virginia and are now breaking daily on Fanatics Live. They are moving to their new larger shop, which will be connected to the hottest sports bar in Richmond in the near future. Stay tuned for those details. Listeners of Sports Card Strategy Show can use the promo code GRAYBOS20 to get $20 off their first purchase with Graybo's on Fanatics Live. Don't forget to get a free 30-day trial at nooffseason.com today to help you make money flipping sports cards, build your sports card investment portfolio, get unlimited advice from our experts, and take Sports Card School to navigate the hobby. That's nooffseason.com. Get your free 30-day trial today. All the data we use on the Sports Card Strategy Show is from marketmoversapp.com. Use code NOOFFSEASON at marketmoversapp.com to get 20% off for life after a free 14-day trial. All right, let's get to the Sports Card Strategy. I'm Paul Hickey. This is the Sports Card Strategy Show, part of the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network. Welcome in to all of you, part of the NoOffSeason.com fam. I'm excited to have you with me on Memorial Day, Monday, May 27th. Happy Memorial Day. Hope you and your families are all doing well. And I hope you guys are excited about the sports card market because there's a lot going on, and we're going to dig into that today. For those of you who don't know, there's basically two routes to take to make money flipping sports cards. One route is to buy a card raw and grade it, aka change the product. You know, that can also include buying a card in a slab from one grading company and then changing it over into a slab from another grading company. That essentially changes the product. That can increase or sometimes decrease its value, but it changes the value of the card if you're going to buy it raw and then get it graded by a grading company, or if you're going to take it out of a slab from one grading company and put it into a slab from another grading company. So that is one way to make money flipping sports cards if you can do that successfully. The other way to do it is to essentially buy a card low and sell it high and not change the condition, not change the product itself, but essentially just get the timing correct, whether it be based on player performance or whether it just be based on desirability of a particular card. So on every Monday, we typically take a look at buying cards raw and grading them, because then you don't necessarily need to worry about waiting for a selling marker. You don't need to necessarily worry about buying a card super low and then waiting for it to go up in value. However, if you are able to pair it with those factors as well, you can make even more money. So buying a card raw and grading it is definitely one of my favorite sports card strategies. And we're going to dive into that today as we have not 5, not 10, but 11 sports cards to walk you through to make money buying raw and grading them essentially right now. So we're going to get into that. But first, we'll say hello to our audience in the live chat here. Koa is in the house. What's up, Koa? Good to see you. Arrowwoods Hobby Shop says, always appreciate the content. Thank you, Arrowwoods Hobby Shop. Whatever we can do to support you, just let us know. And Ben Dowse in the house. Happy Memorial Day to Ben Dowse. Good to see you, Ben, back in the live chat. It's been a while. Ben has made some amazing submissions to the Sports Card Strategy Show in the past, part of a episode segment that we used to do called the Sports Card Strategy Show and Tell. Ben, definitely a good sports card flipper out there. Hope you're doing well. Thanks, everybody. And we're going to continue to give the live chat a shout out throughout the episode. We always like to do that. So remember to definitely drop your L's, drop your dubs, drop your stories, drop your questions in the live chat, and we will try to get to you. And of course, drop a comment below at youtube.com/Paul Hickey as well. We've got Eric Stefano in the house. Speaking of dropping comments, Eric drops quite a few comments at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. Thank you, Eric, for doing that. That definitely helps us out, and we appreciate your support. Good to see you in the live chat, my man. Love it. If you like the content we're putting out on a daily, weekly basis, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. It definitely helps us out a lot. And of course, if you would like to join the Discord at sportscardstrategy.com, there's always a link. So if you want to join our Discord, there's always an invite link at sportscardstrategy.com. That's definitely a way to get in with the fam, if you will. All right, it's time for our question of the day. I want to know, what's your sports card budget? You know, there's no right or wrong answer to this. Everybody has different budget for sports cards, and I think it can vary based on week, month, year, and per card. You know, some people look at their budget differently. Some people look at, hey, my sweet spot for making money flipping sports cards is on a per card basis. You know, I want to take a $5 card to a $70 card. I want to take a $50 card to a $250 card. I want to take a $250 card to a $750 card. You know, then there are a lot of high rollers out there. High rollers might want to spend, you know, 4 figures on a card, and they're trying to make it a 5-figure card, which is definitely one of the hardest things to do. So what is your sports card budget? Answer the question by going to Instagram at Sports Card Strategy. Follow us there and comment on our pinned post, or drop a comment on this video at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. I want to know, what's your sports card budget? And you can make money flipping sports cards with a small budget. You can make money flipping sports cards with a large budget. People don't realize this, but high rollers are at just as big of a risk as people on a small budget. You know, the little card grind, as one of our loyal nooffseason.com family members, Ryan Painter, calls it. He calls it the little card grind. You could be on the little card grind, and you could be at just as much risk as a high roller, and vice versa, because you could be on the little card grind, and before you know it, you might have bought $105 sports cards, and that's $500, and you could have spent that $500 on a bigger card. And so I think sometimes you just need to, well, all the time, you need to pay attention to what you're doing, but sometimes you need to really take a look at each individual play and realize that, you know, you might not realize that you can afford certain cards. You can definitely afford certain cards that you might not realize that you can afford. So I want you to think through how you're buying sports cards. What's your sports card budget? Let me know however I can help. And I'd like to say hello to Craig Seiner in the house. Craig says, I look forward to your show and Andy's show. I learn a lot. Thanks so much, Craig. Appreciate you, man. And Koa jokes, my budget is whatever my wife gives me for allowance. So, all right. Well, let's jump into our top 5 cards to buy raw and grade. But it's not just 5, as I mentioned earlier on. It's more than that. It's 11. So let's jump into the top 11 cards to buy raw and grade. And there's a plethora. And it goes along with the budget question of the day, because up first is a budget card. And I've had some people recently, you know, throw a little bit of feedback in the Discord. I'm not going to call it criticism. And we had some people throw a little bit of feedback on some videos at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. I'm not going to call it criticism. Let's call it feedback, right? But people will sometimes say, well, Paul's budget is this and my budget is much, much lower than that. Here's the thing. I think people that are saying things like that don't realize that you can go to nooffseason.com. You can get a free 30-day trial, and you can get our formula-based sports card rankings. And the formula-based sports card rankings don't discriminate on budget, right? Because the 11th overall card, top card to make money on right now, which is returning at a 69% ROI, if you were to buy it raw and grade it at PSA, is Dylan Cruz, his 2024 Bowman Chrome first prospect base card. Snipe price or target cost, it's the same thing, $6. It goes in PSA 10 for 85. And so if you want to make $1,000 just on this one card, you need to buy 54 of them. And, to make $1,000 profit, you definitely need more than $1,000, but you don't need that much more than $1,000. You only need $1,451. But you can make $1,000 based on the formula. Now, how the formula works is it takes into account gem rate. It takes into account the PSA 9, the PSA 10 price, the prices of the other grades that you might get from PSA. It takes into account your grading costs, takes into account all of your fees. And it's very, very conservative as well. So I have a lot of people ask me, well, I want to make $1,000 a month flipping sports cards. Some people say I want to make $10,000 a month flipping sports cards. I'm like, whoa, okay, great. Good for you. That's awesome. That's ambitious, but I'm with you. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you out. So now, how do you do that? Well, that's why I built the formula. And the formula tells me that whenever I run a card through it, it tells me whether or not there's an ROI to that card. Now, the buy raw and grade situation tells me data that I don't need to necessarily have a selling marker to make money on that card. And however, like I said in the opening of the show, if I do have a selling marker, I can make even more money if I wait. And so Dylan Cruz is a guy that I can make even more money if I wait, because as we approach his call up, assuming I get my cards back in time from PSA, as we approach his call up, his market could increase. And so when you look at a guy like Dylan Cruz and you look at his 2024 Bowman Chrome first prospect base raw, you can get it for around $6. And if you get it graded, you have a chance. You have a very, very good chance of making close to a 70% ROI on that card, because you have a good chance of getting a PSA 10. And here's the other thing too that's important about this formula. When I said that if you want to make $1,000 just on this one card, you need to buy 54 of them. You can find 54 of these. This is just a base card. Now, yes, you would need all in to make that play. You would need about $1,500. You'd need $1,451.61. Now, I'm not literally saying that you need to go out and buy 54 of these, but what I'm saying is that if you do, you're bringing your dollar cost average to a point where you're increasing your chances of actually making that 69% ROI. So the formula ranks cards based on the ROI, the return on investment probability from a raw to grade standpoint, which is what makes it so outstanding. So again, all you need are 10 of these to make a submission at PSA. That's $60. Now the PSA submission itself is going to run you about another $250, but that's all baked into the formula overall cost. So again, Dylan Cruz 2024 Bowman Chrome first prospect base. It's out of 2024 Bowman, which just came out. However, the market's pretty much already settled on this card, and it's cheap. It's a cheap card. So I like it. I think you should like it. I've been buying it. So here's another little tip. I bought a lot of these. If you can buy a lot of these on eBay, what you can do is you can save on the overall shipping costs. Now, that's a question I get often about the formula is, does it include the shipping costs? It doesn't, but that's because I just want you to be able to go in and snipe the card for the snipe price. Just focus on the snipe price. and not have to worry about calculating all the shipping yourself. However, it does include the shipping on the back end of the ROI. So the answer is it does include the shipping and all of your costs, but it includes it on the ROI percentage. It doesn't include it on the front end of what do I do when I go buy the card? Okay. So I've tried to simplify that for you at nooffseason.com. So we'll obviously talk more about the formula as we go through this list because it's all based on the formula. So up next is Victor Wembanyama's 2023 Prism Hyper. All right. So this card is currently at $260. And again, based on the gem rate, based on the upside of a PSA 10, what you would get across all of your other grades, this card's returning at a 72% ROI after people get it back from PSA. So this means that in order to make $1,000 on this card, because it's a $260 card. Now, again, we've gone from, we've highlighted a $6 card, and now we're highlighting a $260 card. Very different. So you only need 5 of these, right? So if you can find 5 of these that are gradable, you can get that 72% ROI. But what's interesting about this is that overall cost is less than the 54 Dylan Cruz cards, right? So that's kind of how this thing works, is that you can mix and match if you want. And we do a 1K budget builder article at nooffseason.com every week that helps you kind of see where you can mix and match different things. However, again, you don't need to spend $1,000. You don't need to spend $1,500, $1,300, $1,400. You can spend however much you have. But in order to make a play at PSA, you definitely need to have at least 10 cards, and you need to have the money to have the cards graded, right? So the formula takes into account all of that. You would just need 5 of the Victor Wembanyama 2023 Prism Hyper 136. And based on all the factors, the gem rate and the upside of the PSA 10, the pricing on all the other grades, you would make 72%. So you can make $1,000 spending just under $1,400 for 5 of these. All right, now up next, let's go back to a budget card, and let's go back to a similar player to Dylan Cruz, and that guy is Walker Jenkins. Walker Jenkins, outfield prospect for the Minnesota Twins. Much like Dylan Cruz, his first Bowman cards are out of 2024 Bowman that just came out about a month ago, and they're in a situation where they're $5. His Bowman Chrome first prospect base cards are $5. So the market has settled. This is an incredibly inexpensive card. It still has an upside of $85 in a PSA 10. And it has a high enough gem rate currently to where you can make money on this card. So you got to move fast, just like you do on the Dylan Cruz card. You got to move fast on the raw to grade. But if you check the market when you get the cards back and you're still up and you want to wait till call up, you could be up even more if you want to wait till call up. So if you want to wait till a selling marker, you can make a little bit more money. Sometimes you might be down a little bit from where you thought you were going to be because the pricing moves all the time. So we've had situations where people have bought the Victor Wembanyama card that I mentioned a minute ago. And then the pricing on that PSA 10 has gone down. The pricing on the raw goes down accordingly as well, but the ROI goes down just a little bit. And so people might want to wait till the selling marker, and that's fine too. So you might want to wait till the selling marker, which for Walker Jenkins would be the call up or leading up to the call up. Maybe some hot performances in the minor leagues that are yet to come. But this card's returning a 75% ROI just on the raw to grade, not even having to wait for the selling marker. So $5 for the card, $85 PSA 10 upside. How much would you need to put in to make $1,000 on the Walker Jenkins play? You'd need 51 of these. You could certainly find 51 of them, but you'd need $1,326.53. That includes all your grading fees, but it's returning at a 75% ROI. So again, this show is based around helping people make money flipping sports cards and doing it in a very strategic way. Yes, it's based on some numbers, but it's also based on our guidelines, strategies, and plays at nooffseason.com, which include buying the right card for the right player at the right time and having a selling marker in mind. So We're running all of those types of cards through the formula. And now the formula is just simply giving us prioritization. Because if we don't have focus and we don't have priority, then we're haphazard. And then we are at a greater risk of wasting our money, everybody. So up next is, this guy's very hot, obviously, right now, Paul Skenes. But there's a million different Paul Skenes cards to buy. He just said he had his firsts out in 2023 draft. Now he's got even more cards because 2024 Bowman has more Paul Skenes cards. Obviously already been called up because he's played very, very well so far. He's pitched very well for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And he projects to be like an all-star very soon in his pro career. And he projects to potentially win a Cy Young Award soon. I mean, he projects to be probably the best pitcher in the National League someday sooner rather than later. And so even though he's already been called up, there's a ton of hype around this guy. And the time is now to buy his cards raw, grade them, and quick flip them. And the only other selling marker you would be waiting for is like another huge performance spike, which definitely could happen this season. So Paul Skenes, his 2023 Bowman Draft Chrome Refractor first. Now, this is not an inexpensive car. This is not an inexpensive non-auto. Okay. It's $49 for this non-auto, but it's returning because Paul Skenes is so hot right now. If you can make, now you gotta have super Paul Skenes speed, mile per hour. Like you have to be as fast as his 100 mile per hour pitches are when you're making this play. Because if you're not making this play fast, you risk his market dipping a little bit. So if you can make this play fast and get his 2023 Bowman Draft Chrome Refractor first for $49 in a gradable condition that could potentially gem. If you can get 17 of them, you only need to spend $1,207 and you can make $1,000. Again, that includes all of your grading fees and everything. That's an 83% ROI. And this is why I love our formula, because it's telling you which Paul Skenes card to focus on, right? Now, that's part of the battle. The other part of the battle is actually finding the cards. So for all of these cards that we're talking about, you go to nooffseason.com and you click on the card that I'm talking about from our formula-based rankings page, and it takes you to the player profile page. And then from there, you can click to buy the card on eBay, and it'll take you to a saved search query that we have already built for you. And then from there, you just have to scout it out yourself. So you got to do the work. You got to do the work. We're helping you get there. We're leading the horse to water, right? Now you got to drink the water, but as we all know, this is not as easy as just taking a sip of water. This is hard work where you have to grind to actually find the card. So up next, I love this guy. I think that this guy is going to be electric during the 2024 NFL season. The only thing that is going to keep him from being a hobby darling is going to be injuries. Anthony Richardson has it all. He has the entire toolkit. He's got the size, speed, athleticism, arm, team, division. I mean, dude is, he's got it all. And his pricing right now is pretty low compared to other quarterbacks. His Prism Silver Raw, which just came out this year, $65. High gem rate, high PSA 10 upside. All things that the formula loves. So right now, Anthony Richardson, Prism Silver, buy raw, grade at PSA, make the play between now and the beginning of July, sell when you get back from PSA, but probably wait at that point. It would be wise to wait until September. And you can get this card now for around $65. Now, for a gradable condition, you might have to pay a little bit more than that, but the formula likes it to the point where 84% ROI percentage. So you're spending $1,188 to buy 14 of these, which is definitely doable. And you're getting $1,000 ROI back. What other sports card content creator or website gives you this information? Now, I know there's a lot of great tools out there that will give you a part of it, and then you have to go do a bunch of the analysis on your own to try to figure this out. But when we run cards through our formula at nooffseason.com, it does it for you. And then all you have to do is click on the card, go to the player's profile page, and then click on the card again, and it takes you to eBay to try and find the card and buy it. That's super fun. That's literally, I built this so that I could do this for myself at night when I'm chilling, watching TV. I'm going into nooffseason.com and I'm literally doing exactly what I'm talking about and telling you guys to do on this show. And it's so much fun. And I have fun missing out on cards. Like, I'm not buying all of these cards. I'm only buying the ones that the formula tells me to buy at the snipe price. And if I have to go too far above the snipe price, I know that that's eating into my profit margin. So I'm backing out of it and I'm going to something else. So what would be something else to go to that would definitely present a challenge? It would be Kobe Bryant, 1996 hoops base 281. And this is a challenge. Like, this is fun because it's a $10 card. And it's fun because it's Kobe Bryant. You know, his market is not necessarily going to fluctuate the way that Richardson, Skenes, Jenkins, Wemby, Cruz, those guys, their market's going to fluctuate quite a bit. So I try to give you a little variety here on the Sports Card Strategy Show. And the variety that I'm giving you here, one of the variety pieces is this Kobe Bryant 1996 hoops base 281. The good news is that you can get it for around $10. And the good news is that it's Kobe Bryant and his market's not going to fluctuate too much. The good news is that there's high upside in a PSA 10 and a high gem rate. The potentially bad news is that this is like a 30-year-old card almost. And now all of a sudden you're in a situation where, what kind of condition is it going to be in? Do you really have a chance to get a PSA 9 or a PSA 10 of this card? That's okay though, because the formula accounts for that, right? So like, again, we talked about dollar cost average a second ago, and I glossed over it. What is dollar cost average? Dollar cost average is if I buy one of these Kobe Bryant cards for $10, that's my dollar cost average. 10 divided by 1. Now, if I buy another one for $20, now I have two for a total of $30. Do that division. Now my dollar cost average is $15. If I buy 31 of these, now I'm in a situation where if my dollar cost average can stay as close to $10 as possible, then I have a very, very, very good chance, regardless of all the factors, of making 100% ROI, because the formula tells me that if I buy 31 of these and grade them at PSA, I need $968. That's not a whole lot of money if you think about trying to make $1,000. To spend $968 to make $1,000, that's not a whole lot of money because it's 103% ROI is what it is. So it's kind of fun. You know, it's fun to run cards through the formula. It's fun to see if you can buy them in gradable condition and make money this way. Buy raw and grade. And it's Kobe. And it's not the only Kobe card, spoiler alert, on the list today. What's interesting, though, is if you followed us for a long period of time, you probably know that Anthony Edwards would not typically be a guy that I would come in and say, buy right now. Why? Because he's still in the Western Conference Finals for the moment. And as a result of that, there's a lot of attention on him, and his market is up quite a bit. And I'll pat myself on the back a little bit there because I did make that call a couple of years ago and stayed consistent with Ant-Man being a buy leading up to this NBA playoffs. Have been invested in Ant's cards and have liquidated Ant's cards during this NBA playoffs as well. So I hope many of you have followed me in that play. And I know many of the one-on-one strategist people because I help them manage their inventory. I know exactly what numbers that they've put up based on Ant-Man. And I'm very, very proud of that. And I think that they're very, very happy with me. So Ant-Man, his 2020 Prism Red, White, and Blue Raw is an interesting card because the formula tells us that even if we were to buy it now, when his market is up, you can still make money on a quick flip here, and you can still make a lot of money on a quick flip here, because if you can get this card for $84 in potentially PSA 10 gradable condition, now that I'll be the first to tell you that this might be the hardest thing to do in the entire show today. It might even be harder than finding gradable 1996 Hoops Kobe Bryant rookies from almost 30 years ago and finding like 30 of them, right? This might be harder. It might be harder to find multiple or even one Anthony Edwards 2020 Prism Red, White, and Blue 258 for $84 that's gradable. But the formula tells us, the market data tells us, this is not me making this up, that you can get this card for $84. And there's so much upside in a PSA 10. And I don't think that upside's going away anytime soon, by the way. I don't think that you necessarily have to worry, even when the Timberwolves are officially eliminated. I don't think that you have to worry about this guy's cards going down that much. I think he's at even though he hasn't won championships, I think he's approaching like a weird Patrick Mahomes type status for an NBA player. Like, that's kind of an interesting comparison. It's right off the top of my head there. I didn't expect to say that on today's show, but I'm going to actually stand by it, because I think that, Mahomes is like locked in. He has a market that's like locked in for NFL. And I think that Edwards, even though he hasn't won a championship, I think it's I think it makes sense, because I think that people now see him as the potential next face of the league, and there's still upside in him winning his first championship. So there's still actual meat on the bone when it comes to Ant-Man. So it's a weird one to say, go buy Anthony Edwards right now. But again, the formula is telling us that this is the right card, because there's enough upside left still in it to buy raw and grade it PSA and flip it immediately. And I don't think that PSA 10 upside is going to go down anytime soon. I really don't. I think it's going to stay. Dude is on the USA Olympic team for Paris 2024. He's going to continue to make highlight reel plays and he'll probably lead the Timberwolves into more primetime games next year. So I think Ant-Man's here to stay. I think you could there's probably certain cards that you would want to avoid buying now, but this raw to grade play is not one of them. This raw to grade play is one that you can partake in. Another one that's in the exact same ilk here is Chet Holmgren. So Chet Holmgren, his 2022 Prism Silver 266 raw for $24. Right now, you're not like I'm not saying that you're going to be able to find a bunch of these for $24 that are going to be in potential PSA 10 gradable condition, but I'm saying that the formula says that if you can get your dollar cost average across several of these to $24, and they all have a chance at a PSA 10 or a PSA 9, there's enough upside in this card, in the PSA 10 and in the PSA 9, where if you could find 21 of these, you can make $1,000, and you only need to put in $925.32. It's 108% ROI on this Chet Holmgren card. Now, I don't feel as confident about Chet being like the face of a league as I do about Anthony Edwards, but I do feel confident enough in Chet to be a big man that kind of breaks the mold where the hobby typically hasn't loved big men that much. I think that the hobby can love Chet. I think that the hobby maybe Chet's had some hype because he's new. This was technically his rookie year, even though it was his second year in the league. He missed all of his first year due to an injury. So he's still new. So there's some risk here. There's some risk here, like there is with some of the other cards, the Anthony Richardson, the Wembanyama, the Dylan Cruz, the Walker Jenkins. Like, those guys are all new too. So any totally new guy, there's quite a bit of risk. But there's risk in the Kobe, because you might not have a good grade because it's so old of a card. And there's risk in the Anthony Edwards because you're buying it at a high point, right? So there's risk in everything. But what the formula is doing is it's giving you a focus area. It's giving you your highest upside and your snipe price. Because if nothing else, the formula giving you your target snipe price is mitigating a ton of risk. And it's putting you in a position where you can profit. So if you can profit doing this, it's going to give you a lot more enjoyment. And it's going to keep you in the hobby. And it's going to keep you educated. Like, you don't need to walk around card shows. You don't need to, browse eBay or browse MySlabs uneducated, right? So let me know what you think. Drop a comment below. And I'm curious to think, I'm curious to see what you all think about this kind of content. I love it. That's why I'm putting it out there. And I want you to make money. I want to help you. I don't think there's enough helpful content out there. I think there's content that just kind of banters and chit chats and brags or just talks about what someone's experience is, which is great. I'll talk about my experience too. But I want to give you guys as much information as possible to go out there and make money. So Chet Holmgren, 2022 Prism Silver 266 Raw. You can buy 21 of these for $925.32. And you can make 108% ROI. Now, another guy that's been eliminated from the playoffs, like Chet has, is our guy Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey fits the mold. He's in a big market. He's on a competitive team. He's kind of the 1B now. He can score. He can put up a ton of points. He's electric. He's fun to watch. He's got the right cards. And his market has been pretty freaking hot ever since he started to play at the end of his rookie season in 2020. So it's kind of been hard to make money on Tyrese Maxey, to be honest with you. And now, for a few reasons, it's not as hard. So let's narrow the focus. Let's talk about what the best way to make money on Tyrese Maxey cards is. It's to buy his 2020 Prism Silver 256 Raw for a dollar cost average of $18.50 if you're buying multiples. Or if you're buying one, try to get it for as close to $18.50 as possible. And if you can buy 23 of these, it's only going to cost you $895.69 if you're at that dollar cost average, close to $18.50. You're going to have the upside, right, of a PSA 10 that sells for $105 right now. And that's a cheap PSA 10. But at any rate, actually, I think the thing is PSA 10, does it sell for $305? Yeah, $305. $104.50 would be like your average across all your grades. Sorry. So $305 for the PSA 10 and 112% ROI. So Tyrese Maxey, 2020 Prism Silver. I think he's here to stay. I think he's an all-star in the NBA. And, Embiid was hurt. The Sixers didn't seed as well, and they didn't finish as well. And so I think, unlike Anthony Edwards, who's at kind of the top of the market right now, you've got a guy like Maxey where it actually is the right time to buy into Maxey. And perhaps that is why the formula has accounted for that and ranked him higher. The formula does what the math tells it to do. The formula doesn't do what I tell it to do. So when you run as many cards as possible through the formula, then you get a clear focus. And Tyrese Maxey, 2020 Prism Silver 256 Raw right now would be the formula's fourth best card to buy raw and grade. And I love it. So again, try to go get 23 of these. Try to spend just under $900 on 23 of these, and you'll put yourself in a position where you can make potentially 112% ROI. Okay, now switching gears. How fun is this? We've talked about like GOATs of the NBA. We've talked about young players in the NBA. We've talked about young quarterbacks. We've talked about baseball prospects. Let's talk about another baseball prospect. Samuel Basalo. Our guy Lefty McKee of Lefty Cards has talked about Samuel Basalo before. I've talked about Samuel Basalo before. But on a weekly basis, it's hard to understand which Samuel Basalo cards put you in a position to potentially make the most money. And for a million reasons, comps matter, right? And so as the comps change, the formula updates it. And the formula is now telling us that the third best way to make money buying raw cards and grading them is to buy Samuel Basalo's 2023 Bowman Chrome First Prospect Auto Refractor. Not an easy card to find because there's only 499 of them. And it's not gonna be easy to find it for $128. So I'll be the first to tell you that eBay might not be the place that you would find this card. You can try to find it by clicking on his player profile links at nooffseason.com. You could try to find it searching on eBay. But the better way to do it probably is to find it in person at a card shop or a card show or on a Discord or a Facebook group somewhere and use the last comp of around $130, in this case, $128 to try and find one. Now, the formula is brilliant because, the formula is not telling you that you need many of these. You only need 6 of them. Now, again, to find 6 of them at a dollar cost average of around $128 is going to be hard, but it should be hard, right? It should be hard. All of this is hard. None of this is easy. Being hard means it's a challenge. Challenges are fun. That's why we're all here. So $895.11 all in is what it would cost. And to make $1,000 on the Samuel Basalo play, you need 6 of them for that amount of money for $895.11. And just like Tyrese Maxey's Prism Silver 256, it's 112% ROI. So there you go. There you go to the peeps out there that are telling me, well, look, I don't have the budget that you have, Paul. You flip sports cards for a full-time job. Great. Tyrese Maxey. Go buy a $19 Tyrese Maxey 2020 Prism Silver. I say that. What I really mean is go buy a gradable version or multiple gradable versions trying to get your dollar cost average around $18.50. But that's very different than $128, right? All right, so the next 2 aren't going to be easy either, but they're going to be fun. We've talked about them on the Sports Card Strategy Show before, and they're still at the top. They've been at the top for several weeks now of the raw to grade formula-based rankings at nooffseason.com. So number 2 is still Kobe Bryant's 1996 Topps Base 138. There are a billion of these cards. So don't tell me that you can't go find one that could potentially gem. You can. You definitely can. And there's a billion of these listed at all times. So the play is to buy now, sell when you get back from PSA. Maybe Kobe's cards go up more towards the beginning of next NBA season, things like that. Maybe they go up during the Olympics, things like that, but probably won't get them back by the Olympics unless you do the play very quickly, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter because what's going to matter here is what grades you get, right? And the other thing that's going to matter is, to offset what grades you might get, it's going to be to try to get your dollar cost average to $55 across 11 of these that are gradable. Because if you can buy 11 of these, it's going to cost you $833. And you're going to have a very solid chance at making $1,000 net profit. That is 120% ROI. So you're welcome. And again, the challenge is going to be finding the gradable versions because you definitely can find this card. And same thing with our number 1 card. Our number 1 card is still this 2001 Upper Deck base number 1 Tiger Woods. It's an iconic Tiger Woods rookie card. We all know it. We've all seen it. It's easy to find. It's not going to be easy to find in potential PSA 10 condition for $19, but it's going to be damn fun to search for it, right? Especially now that you know that this is where your focus should be. Because if you can find 16 of these and get your dollar cost average on a potential gradable card to around $19, you're only spending $636.04. That's for everything. That's for the cards. That's for the grading fee. That's everything. Guys, that's 157% projected return on investment. So you gotta love it. You gotta love it. I mean, the formula is here to stay. The formula is here to help you win. And before we get into Will It Gem, which is a fun segment, let's go back to the live chat real quick because we got some of my favorite names in here. We got a new name, PK Peanut 91. What's up, PK Peanut 91? PK Peanut 91 says, nice. I think that was in response to Koa's budget. Ben Dowse says there's a card I've been buying a lot of. 2000 Fleer USA LeBron James through the formula. Thick. Love it. He says, can you run it through the formula? You can, Ben, and I appreciate the question. The way that you do it is go to nooffseason.com and try our sports card formula calculator. And that's free. So just go to nooffseason.com and under sports card rankings, the drop down, you'll see sports card ROI formula calculator. Just put the data for that card in there. It'll walk you through, Ben, how to put the data in there for that card, and it'll tell you whether or not you should buy it, whether or not it's formula approved. Sports Card Professor 7 in the house says, best wishes Memorial Day Monday. What's up? He says, I'm calling an audible, adding the Arch Manning sports card strategy crack and submit using the white glove PSA submission service by Mr. Minty. He drives your card to PSA and drops it off. Cool. Yeah, I know. Mr. Minty's awesome. We're gonna do more with Mr. Minty. Stay tuned for an announcement about what we're gonna do with Mr. Minty. We got something cooking up. So thanks, Orest. We appreciate you, man. Ben Dowse says, I've been looking at those Richardson silvers. They're almost all off center, so I don't know what to think when looking at those. Yeah, you're just gonna pass, dude. I mean, I think that's a good point. Is like, I talk about the formula. I try to give as much context around what to do, what not to do, all the different factors. Like, the reality is that the formula is groundbreaking. There's nothing else out there that's like it in terms of an ROI prognostication tool based on real market data. There's also nothing else out there that is a prioritization tool. It is an ROI based prioritization tool based on real market data in a world with millions and millions of sports cards that confuses the F out of all of us. The formula clears the road. The formula is like a snow plow that just plows all the crappy snow off the road so that you can drive smoothly. That's what the formula is. That doesn't mean that the formula gets you to your destination safely. It just gives you the best chance to get to your destination safely. There's nothing else like it. So if you use the formula to get to your destination, you're increasing your chances of winning. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to meet other obstacles along that path, Ben, and others. Obstacles along that path include every single card I look at is off-centered. Okay, fine. Go to the next card, right? Or wait until you find one that is centered. You know, it's giving you the knowledge too, right? Like, somebody made a comment on the Discord earlier today about how, you know, they love the sports card strategy show and the new format and the formula-based rankings and everything because it's giving them information that they can retain and use at card shows, right? And then when you have the card in your hand, you're like, oh yeah, this is formula approved. And you can bring it up on your mobile phone and it works great at card shows as well. All right. The Friel Deal, Marty in the house. What's up, baby? Good to see you. Marty's a good steward of the nooffseason.com experience and a great nooffseason.com family member. He cares, and I appreciate that. Says the holiday edition, Memorial Day, of course, means I can actually watch live. Thanks to any veterans also in the live chat today. Yeah, great call, Marty. Thanks to all the veterans. And Brad Smith is in the house. Good to see Brad. Great to see Brad. Alan Ma's in the house. Says, loving the content 100%. Keeps me coming back, watching and listening, and focused in the industry of making money on my cardboard addiction. Sweet. All right. Brendan Ryan, what's up, baby? Good to see you. He says, does the formula account for grading inconsistencies and flagrant disregard for the grading scale? Yeah, it does. I mean, the formula account, basically, Brendan, good question. I mean, I sense some frustration at the grading companies in your question, which I understand. But yeah, the short way to explain it is that the formula takes into account all the different grades that you might get for each card. And then based on those grades, in the historical data of those grades, based on gemrate.com, it gives you the projected average sale price. And so you have the upside of a PSA 10 counterbalanced with the projected average sale price across the most likely grades that you would get for buying that card. So it obviously, it's obvious to say this, but it doesn't account for like the card that you have in your hand. To Ben Dowse's point, the most important thing, I'm just going to take Ben Dowse's comment and I'm going to take it a step further because I've said this a ton. The most important thing is the card that you have in your hand or the card that you're looking at about to buy, right? The card that you're looking at about to buy is the most important thing. In some ways, that can supersede the formula, right? Because you could be looking at a card that the formula has ranked in the bottom. But it could be that the reason why the formula has that card ranked in the bottom is because of low likelihood of getting a PSA 10. But that doesn't mean, and you might be looking at the data and going, but there's high upside in the PSA 10. And I think the card that I have in my hand is going to be a PSA 10. Fine. That's why Mondays we talk about raw to grade, right? Wednesdays we talk about already graded. And then we also do a ton of other stuff. We put out articles and have content all the time on the Premium Pod and elsewhere at nooffseason.com and the Sports Card Strategy Show about other strategies. They might be cracking and submitting. They might be quick flipping at card shows. We talk about all sorts of stuff. So grading inconsistencies, dependency on the card that's in your hand. When you're looking at grading a card, all those things matter really just as much as the formula does. What the formula is doing is it's giving you a prioritization of where to look. I should look here first, second, third, etc. And narrow your focus a little bit. And it's hard. The Friel Deal says, if it was easy, everyone would do it. Courtesy of Jimmy Dugan, A League of Their Own. Great movie. And there was another question here from the Friel Deal. He says, when you make the list for the show, is it from the cards you've ran through the formula since the last show, or does the formula spit out cards for you each week? The answer to that, Marty, is the team at nooffseason.com runs as many cards through the formula that we possibly can each week. And then each day, right, the data is updated. And as the data is updated, what the formula does is the formula prioritizes it based on the math in the order of the highest projected ROI. So some weeks there's going to be brand new cards that we've never talked about before. And there could be two reasons for that. One, it could be because the pricing has moved a card that we have already added to the formula several weeks prior up because of the market data. The other reason could be because we've just newly added it and it's now near the top. There are some sports card strategy shows where I'm not taking literally, like the top 5 is just the title of the show. It doesn't literally mean that every single show, all we're doing is reading the top 5 from the formula. Like this is a talk show based around the premise that we're going to pull from the formula to talk about raw to grade, and then sometimes talk about already graded, and then to sometimes talk about cracking and submitting and all these different things. This isn't like a show where I literally just am boring as hell and just go, oh, well, I'm just going to look at my own website and just read the top 5 cards. No, that's not what I'm doing. Like we've done all kinds of creative versions of what cards are interesting to buy that you can make money on based on the formula. And there's going to be a lot more of that to come here on the Sports Card Strategy Show. Are you ready to start grading your cards? CGC Cards is the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards. From their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing, CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Go to cgccards.com to start grading today. Now, here are some cards that I will not be grading at CGC, but I will be grading at PSA. One is this Bijan Robinson Red Wave Prism. I bought it for $120 on eBay. And, this happens all the time where you're like, okay, how will this grade? Right. And you're looking at it in the eBay photos. You ever notice that like certain people's eBay photos have the card like sort of positioned so that the top is closer to you or that the bottom is closer to you? Notice how like if you're watching this at youtube.com/Paul Hickey, or even if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you know what I'm talking about. Like sometimes the photo of a card on eBay is just like squared away. And you can see the top, bottom centering, the left to right centering. Sometimes the Fokker turns it and they turn it to the right or they turn it to the left or they tilt it down from the top or tilt it up from the bottom. You know what I'm trying to say here? You know what I mean. What that does is it doesn't really give you a fair idea of what the centering top, bottom, right, left is. So I'm pumped about this Bijan Robinson Red Wave Prism. I think it's going to grade well, but I'm concerned that the top bottom centering is a little too tight on the top. And I've been burned on this before where this is like knocked me down 2 grades where like if it's way too close on the top or way too close on the bottom on the front, it can knock you down a couple of grades. So I think this is probably a 9, but I think there's still a chance at a 10, and that's why I'm going to send it in. So will it gem? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Will this gem? You can see it clearly here. On the back, there is nothing wrong with this card on the back. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. And the only thing wrong with the card on the front is the top bottom centering. Now I'm still going to send it in because if you don't send it in, you have 0 chance at a gem. And to Brendan Ryan's point earlier in the live chat, like you never know what a grader's going to give it at PSA. So maybe a grader's having a good day. Maybe I get a gem on this thing. Then I think it goes up in value. Here's the other thing. Other reason I bought this card, even though it might not gem, and I want to just throw it out there to everybody because I think that this is relevant and I'm interested to your thoughts. So drop a comment below, is player performance, right? Like I like Bijan Robinson. I actually think Bijan Robinson is going to have a monster season in his second year in the NFL. I really do. And so I think that could drive his card prices up. So if you're in a situation where, you've got a comp on a Bijan Robinson raw at 120 and you've got a PSA 9 and you've got the PSA 9 listed and he's playing well, he's playing out of his mind, I'll roll the dice on a performance spike on that one. Right? So I think that's a good one. Again, will it gem? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Here's another one. This is a Stephon Castle Lava Refractor out of 199. And I bought this off of the inspiration of the article that I wrote at nooffseason.com, the top ways to make money on the 2024 NBA Summer League. So go check out that article at nooffseason.com. It's a banger. I put a lot of effort into that article. And Stephon Castle projected as a top 2 overall pick in the NBA draft, which is about a month away. I'm very excited for that. Not going to be as exciting as last year's draft with Wemby, I don't think, but this Stephon Castle, and you wouldn't know this just by looking at this one card. But then when I hold up the other Stephon Castle that I bought, which is just the regular refractor auto out of 250. So one's a lava auto out of 199 first out of 2023 Bowman Chrome U for 40. The other one is a regular refractor, which is out of 250 out of the same set for $35. So not a big price difference between the out of 199 and the out of 250. But you wouldn't know this, but you can see one is more off center, top bottom because of his hair. So on Stephon Castle's cards, look at the hair. You know, is the top of his hair cut off? Compare it to other Stephon Castle cards to see, you know, try to go find. Here's the other tip, right? This is not just about me showing you what my cards are and showing you what I bought, which is like, I think what a lot of other content creators focus on is just like, oh, here's what I bought, or here's what I pulled, whatever. Big whoop. Good for you. What I'm trying to do is help you. And I think that that's a pretty decent grading tip is to, okay, yeah, in a vacuum on the Stephon Castle, look at the hair. But in general, what you should do is look at a PSA 10 of a card, right? And then compare that PSA 10 of that card. And I'm talking about a photo here. You don't have to own the PSA 10 of it. And you don't have to find one in person. Look at good photos of PSA 10s of cards. And then compare that to the raw card that you might be buying. So, all right, everybody. Great show today. Really, really appreciate you being here as part of the nooffseason.com family. More great content to come. Couple of quick housekeeping notes before I leave you guys for Memorial Day is number one, we will proceed this Wednesday with our normally scheduled live show. Friday, I will be on a family vacation. So if you are a premium member of nooffseason.com, you will not be getting the premium pod. However, I will be answering your questions as they come through nooffseason.com/ask. And I will communicate with you about whether or not you want me to include them on June 7th's premium pod. So there will be a premium pod on June 7th. Also for the entire audience, the entire nooffseason.com fam, whether you're a paid member or not, I want to tell you that you will get a couple of bonus episodes. You will get, I'm going to be out on a family vacation over the next week or so. You're going to get a bonus episode on Friday. It's going to be a little bit different than what I normally do. I sat down with a good friend of mine named Q Harrison at the Dallas Card Show. He works for Mark Cuban Companies. He's been a good friend of mine for a long time now. And we had a great conversation, a little bit about sports cards, but more so about the business and the business of sports cards and collectibles. So that will drop on the podcast feed and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Paul Hickey this Friday. Everybody's going to get that. Hope you enjoy it. Definitely want to know what you guys think of that kind of content. Not looking to bring that into the network to replace anything that we already have. Just want to put that out there that is a bonus episode that's coming this Friday. And then next week, as I am out, you will not be missing the Sports Card Strategy Show. However, Monday and Wednesday's episode next week just simply will not be live. They just will not be live. So the Sports Card Strategy Show on Monday, June 3rd and Wednesday, June 5th will not be live, but they will not be missed. You will get them. They will be at youtube.com/Paul Hickey and wherever you get your podcast. They will be everywhere that they always are. They just won't be live. So I will miss the live chat and I will be back. However, live on what it'll be the 10th of June will be the next live show. And then on the 12th of June, we may or may not have a little bit of a surprise that those of you that have been with this Sports Card Strategy Show for a long time will probably be very, very excited about. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining me. I'm Paul Hickey. For everybody here at nooffseason.com, have a great day. Thanks so much for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. To connect with us further, please subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. Please also give us a follow on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy and on X at No Off Season Card. We also have a Discord that you could join at sportscardstrategy.com. Everyone, I'm Paul Hickey. For the rest of us here at nooffseason.com, have a great day. We'll see you again soon.